Welcome to Still Living Well. I'm Celine Hall. Life is a collection of chapters. Some fill us with joy. Some challenge us in ways that we never expected. And some change us forever. This podcast is about those chapters, the stories, the lessons, the people, and the moments that remind us what it truly means to keep living well. I'm beginning this journey by sharing the story of my son, Lucas, from my book, A Star for Lucas. It's a story that changed my life forever, and I hope it touches yours as well. So wherever you're listening from, thank you for joining me. Let's begin. The Royal Jubilee Hospital became my entire world. It was a sterile place filled with humming machines, rushed voices, and a lot of unanswered questions. I was 28 weeks pregnant at the time when I was admitted with pain so sharp that it felt as though my body was tearing itself apart. I laid in the hospital bed, connected to monitors, surrounded by nurses and medical equipment, but no one seemed willing to tell me what was happening. The first few hours blurred together. There were ultrasounds, blood tests, examinations, and more questions than answers. The nurses moved quietly around my room. Their footsteps were soft and their voices were even softer. Every time I asked, "What's wrong with me?" they avoided my eyes, gave me vague answers, or said, "We're waiting for the doctor. We need to complete more tests. Someone will speak to you soon." But no one did. The doctor wasn't much better. He would walk into my room holding a clipboard, glance at the monitors, review the results, and offer the same polite but completely unhelpful response. "We're still investigating." Investigating what? I wanted to scream. This was my baby. This was my body. I needed to know what was happening to me. By the time they ordered the third ultrasound, my patience was beginning to disappear. The technician moved the wand slowly across my belly. I watched her face closely, searching for any reaction. Her brow furrowed ever so slightly as she studied the screen. I stared at the grainy images, hoping I might recognize something or find a clue, but the shapes meant nothing to me. "Is everything okay?" I asked. She gave me a tight smile. "The doctor will explain." But the doctor didn't explain. Instead, he asked to speak privately to my husband at the time. I was stunned. I sat alone in that cold hospital room with my hands resting protectively on my belly while the person who was supposed to give me answers walked out of the room with my husband. They discussed my baby and my body without me. When my husband returned, his face was pale. He looked at the doctor as though he needed permission to speak. Finally, he turned to me and said, "They think the baby has a bilateral cleft lip and probably a cleft palate." I stared at him, and then I looked at the doctor, who still seemed unable to meet my eyes. A cleft lip? That was the information they had? That was the information they'd been hiding from me? Why hadn't the doctor just simply told me himself? Did he believe I couldn't handle it? My mind immediately filled with questions, but I also knew that a cleft lip and palate were not necessarily life-threatening. There would likely be surgeries and specialized care, but it was something that we could manage. It wasn't the end of the world. Yet the secrecy surrounding the diagnosis made it feel as though it was. The whispered conversations, the avoided eye contact, the decision to tell my husband before telling me made the situation seem far more terrifying than it needed to be. Did they think I was that fragile? Did they believe I would fall apart? I wasn't simply carrying this baby. I was already fighting for him. I was enduring pain, fear, medical tests, and endless uncertainty. I deserved to know what was happening. I deserved to be included in every conversation and every decision. By the end of the week, the doctor finally entered my room with a plan. "We've scheduled you for an appointment at the women's hospital," he said, as though that settled everything. At the time, it was still Grace Hospital, a facility in Vancouver known for its high-risk pregnancy unit. I nodded. I was too exhausted to argue, although I thought of being transferred to another hospital felt a little overwhelming. The staff began making arrangements for me to transport to the Vancouver hospital. I would leave the hospital where I had spent the week trapped in uncertainty, a place where people seemed afraid to give me honest answers, and travel towards another hospital, another medical team, and another unknown. As the ambulance carried me away from the Royal Jubilee Hospital, I made a promise to myself. From that moment forward, I would ask the questions. I would demand clear answers. I would make sure I was included in every conversation about my body and my baby. No doctor, nurse, or technician would ever make me feel like a spectator in my own pregnancy again. Thank you for spending this time with me today. If this story touches your heart, I'd love to have you join me for the next episode. Until then, remember, no matter what chapter you're in, there's always a reason to keep living well. I'm Celine. Thanks for listening to Still Living Well.